changed my mind. I'm canceling the order for screws worth $1 million.
Now, when the building is set to be completed tomorrow, Matt decides to cancel the deal for $1 million worth of screws our company provided. Matt has been placing annoying orders with my factory, but this is too much. Are you kidding? I struggle to stay calm as I look into Matt's face. Matt smirks, enjoying my reaction. All right, but don't regret it, okay?
What do you mean?
You'll find out soon. See you. I smiled and walked away from Matt, sending a message to all the employees working at the site. Remove every screw from the building. Don't worry if it collapses. My name is Eric Williams. I'm the third-generation president of Williams Iron Works, a small factory that manufactures metal tools like screws and bolts. Since I was a kid, the large vacant lot next to the factory was my playground. The sound of metal being hammered in the factory always soothed me. Even when things were tough at school, just sitting in that vacant lot and listening to the clanking metal would bring me peace and help me face the next day. My school life wasn't enjoyable since elementary school. The reason was Matt Johnson, a classmate. Matt, the son of Johnson Construction, was raised to take over the family business. Johnson Construction orders a large portion of the screws and bolts from our Williams Iron Works. In other words, my relationship with Matt has been heavily influenced by our parents' business relationship since elementary school. There was another childhood friend with us. Her name is Holly Brown, the daughter of a small local hair salon, Brown Hair Salon. Holly was a beautiful girl, always well-dressed, with a good personality. She was kind to everyone and always smiling. Holly's mother, a hard-working single parent, raised her on her own through her skills. Both my mother and Matt's mother frequented Holly's mom's hair salon. Matt, Holly, and I were often in the same class at school and spent a lot of time together. When the three of us were together, Matt would act overly nice to me to impress Holly. In the early years of elementary school, Holly even thought Matt and I were best friends. I wished Matt would be as nice to me as he was when Holly was around. As soon as Holly was gone, Matt would change. He would use me as an errand boy and take my little allowance. By the upper grades of elementary school, Holly noticed our dynamic.
Eric and Matt, you're always together. I thought you were really close.
Matt keeps bothering me. Honestly, I'm fed up.
From then on, Matt's three friends' plan came to an end. He thought that by being nice to me, he could stay close to Holly, but he realized I wasn't on board. Thus, our innocent days came to an end. I didn't hate the times when Matt was nice to me. Back then, the balance among the three of us was perfect. I hoped Matt would change his heart and stop being mean to me, but that wish never came true, and we moved on to middle school. On the first day of middle school, Holly confessed her feelings to me, and we started dating. Many guys secretly had their eyes on Holly, so I made a lot of enemies. However, most of the guys gradually started to look up to me, and my middle school life wasn't bad. Compared to elementary school, there were more things to do, and free time became scarce. So, we chose to join the same tennis club to be together as much as possible, and we enjoyed going to and from school together. But despite seeing us like this, Matt didn't give up on Holly. Matt also joined the tennis club and started bothering us in various ways. Moreover, Matt, who sicked up to and got along with the upperclassmen in the tennis club, began to harass me in subtle ways. My locker in the clubroom would be ransacked, and my uniform would be thrown away covered in mud more frequently. Even so, I didn't want to worry Holly, so I kept it to myself and endured it. Feeling confident, Matt spread nasty rumors about me among the boys in the class and tried to make my school life miserable. He thought that if I started hating school and stopped attending, he would have more chances with Holly. But here, he faced unexpected resistance from the classmates. You might think middle schoolers are still kids, but my classmates were not fools, and nobody liked Matt, who lacked popularity. In the end, everyone in the class sided with me, and it was Matt who felt out of place in the classroom. Holly and I were studying hard every day, aiming to go to the same high school. But life doesn't always go smoothly, and Holly didn't get into her school of choice. In the end, Holly went to a backup all-girls school, and we suddenly felt awkward. 3 months after starting high school, Holly suddenly broke up with me.
Why do we have to break up? We're only going to different high schools for 3 years. Let's go to the same college.
I'm not as smart as you, Eric. I don't want to aim for the same school again and fail.
I half understood, thinking it was about academic ability. If that's the case, we could continue studying together, and I could help Holly improve her grades. But Holly, who went to a different high school, started dating Matt. I felt betrayed and harbored resentment towards Holly. I couldn't forget Holly, and my feelings didn't shift to other girls. Eventually, I graduated high school estranged from both of them and went to an out-of-state college to escape. After graduating from college, I returned home and joined Williams Iron Works, where my father was the president. Holly and Matt also graduated college and started working for their parents, but I ignored them. Matt became the executive director of Johnson Construction and frequently came to our factory, finding reasons to mess with me. When Matt told me he was marrying Holly, my world went dark.
You'll attend, right? We've always been close, the three of us.
Congratulations. Of course, I'll attend.
The day of their wedding became an unforgettable one for me. I glared at Holly, standing next to Matt in her luxurious wedding dress, with hatred. Later, I heard that Holly's mother's hair salon was struggling financially, and they had received help from Matt. But that didn't matter to me. I spent my days full of resentment towards Holly for leaving me. Eventually, Matt became the third-generation president of Johnson Construction. As soon as he became president, he blatantly harassed our factory. We manufacture screws and bolts for various equipment and machinery. Of course, construction sites require a large number of screws and bolts, making Johnson Construction an important client. Taking advantage of this, Matt placed unnecessary large orders and then returned them in bulk, saying they were no longer needed. Screws are delicate and can't just be used in other equipment. The returned screws couldn't be repurposed and became our loss. This happened 3 times, and my father, who was president at the time, collapsed from the stress. From his sick bed, my father wished for me to marry someone and give him peace of mind. But I, still hung up on Holly, couldn't fulfill that wish and saw my father off. With these feelings, my resentment towards Matt and Holly grew even stronger. Matt would do anything to humiliate me and often appeared in public with Holly. TV stations introduced the Johnson family as the wealthiest in the region. Holly, standing next to Matt, flashed the smile that had always captivated me through the TV screen. I trembled with humiliation, thinking how happy she must be. It was then that a huge job came in. A major electric company was building a branch office, and Johnson Construction was in charge. We received a large order for screws and bolts, and became very busy. Some employees were uneasy about working with Johnson Construction.
Williams, are we okay? Usually, a few companies share the orders, but this time it's just our screws. What if they cancel again?
It's true, it might be risky to work without a proper contract this time. I suggested that we stop relying on old ties and properly document the contract. However, Matt kept delaying his response. The construction began, and the orders kept coming. Given that the order amounted to $1 million, we couldn't exactly refuse. In the end, the deal started and construction proceeded without a proper contract. The employees' fears were spot on. Matt changed his mind again.
Changed my mind. I'm canceling the order for screws worth $1 million.
And he said this just when the building was set to be completed the next day. I felt the blood drain from my face. What are you going to do without our screws? Are you going to order from another factory now?
Well, the screws used in this building will be free. Sorry for the last-minute notice, but thanks. I'll sweeten the deal next time.
Matt had always placed annoying orders with my company, but this was too much. Was it our fault for taking the job without a proper contract just because of old ties? Are you kidding? I struggled to stay calm as I looked into Matt's face. Matt smirked, enjoying my reaction. Enough is enough, I screamed inside. At that moment, something snapped inside me. I made a firm decision, clenching my fists. All right, but don't regret it, okay?
What do you mean?
You'll find out soon. Goodbye. I smiled and walked away from Matt.
Thanks a lot.
Matt's casual voice came from behind. He'll never grow up. He needs to face a harsh lesson here. Otherwise, his attitude and behavior towards me will never change. Honestly, I couldn't stand dealing with Matt any longer. As president, I had many tasks and couldn't visit the site every day, but that made me imagine how much tougher it was for the people on site. I took out my phone and sent a message to all our employees finishing the work at the building site. Remove every screw from the building. Don't worry if it collapses.
Are you serious?
The employees quickly responded with messages. I sent another message. It's to stop Johnson Construction from bullying us any further. Messages of agreement quickly followed. I joined the employees in removing any bolts and screws we could access due to the tight schedule and rush to complete the building by tomorrow. Many of our factory workers were at the site. We removed every accessible screw and bolt and left the site in our small trucks. Returning to the factory, we celebrated noisily at our usual bar.
I'd love to see Johnson Construction's faces tomorrow.
The building was already shaky. There's no way they can hand it over to the owner in that condition.
Oh, this is great. The drinks taste better than ever today.
I drank heavily, relieving all the pent-up frustration. Stumbling home, I collapsed into bed and fell into a deep sleep. The next day, with my head pounding, I was awakened by the loud ringing of my phone. Seeing Matt's name on the screen, I answered.
Why did you remove all the screws? Put them back right now. The handover to the client is today.
You canceled the order the day before. If you cancel $1 million order, we're just taking back what's ours.
The building is still shaking. If we open like this, it'll be considered a defective construction. Please, put the screws back.
I hesitated for a moment, then silently hung up the phone. Recovering those $1 million worth of screws was a huge burden, but if I didn't do something drastic, he would never stop disrespecting us. If days the next time, we'll definitely need to get a proper contract drafted by experts. Time passed without hearing any news of the building's completion. We weren't held responsible. Everyone understood that Matt canceled the screw order the day before to get our screws for free. I decided to cut ties with Johnson Construction. It's sad to end a relationship that spanned 3 generations. My grandfather's, my father's, and mine. But there's no way to get along with Matt as president. One day, Holly unexpectedly visited me. I was shocked by her audacity to show up in front of me.
Eric, please help him. Matt is in a dire situation. If things continue like this, the company might go under.
The rumor about the screwless building spread, and all the subcontractors were avoiding them. No new work was coming in, and they were being sued by the owner of the building with the removed screws, paying hefty damages. I didn't care what happened to Matt's company. I was just furious that instead of coming himself, Matt sent his wife, Holly, to ask me for help. Making Holly beg in his place was despicable. Of course, it was Holly's own fault for choosing Matt over me, and my resentment hadn't faded. Seeing Holly for the first time in a while, I noticed she had become quite worn out. As the wife of the president of Johnson Construction, she should have been more well kept. Her hair was just tied back in a single ponytail, unkempt. Her clothes and shoes were very worn. Just by looking at her, I could tell Holly wasn't happy. I was confused by the emotions welling up inside me. I thought I'd feel something different. Shouldn't I feel more satisfaction seeing the woman who once betrayed me looking so shabby? Yet, I still loved Holly. It was infuriating. I decided to test Holly. If you divorce Matt and marry me, I'll help you.
I can't do that. I went to Matt to help you that day. I can't conveniently divorce him now just because the business is failing.
What do you mean, to help me? I don't know anything about that. Confused by Holly's unexpected words, I demanded an explanation. Holly looked at me, surprised.
I mean the day in high school when I broke up with you. Wasn't your father's factory in danger of going bankrupt? Matt said he would provide financial support if I dated him and eventually married him.
I'm proud to say our factory has never faced bankruptcy. You believed that lie and broke up with me to choose Matt.
Choose? No, I was forced to. I didn't want you to suffer, Eric.
That was a huge misunderstanding on Holly's part. She believed that without work from Johnson Construction, our factory would fail, both then and now. I felt all the strength drained from my body and collapsed onto the sofa, unable to move. Holly, looking down, whispered in a small voice,
I've only ever cared about you, Eric. Even now, I always wish for your happiness. If you were happy because I became Matt's wife, that was enough for me.
I told Holly that we wouldn't struggle for work even if we lost Johnson Construction as a client. Our factory and Johnson Construction had a strong bond over generations, from our grandfathers to our fathers. Because of this special relationship, our predecessors took on difficult or unprofitable jobs. Unfortunately, that bond broke with the third generation. At Williams Ironworks, we have one of the top screw craftsmen in the country. Thanks to him, we get orders from all over the world. Plus, his skills are being passed down to the next generation.
I had no idea. If I'd known, I never would have dated or married Matt.
Holly sighed deeply.
What has my life been? If only I had talked more with you, Eric. If we had understood each other, this wouldn't have happened. Matt deceived me.
I felt the same as Holly. Looking back on my life, I felt the same helplessness. We loved each other, but chose to live apart.
I always wondered why you stayed single, Eric. Did you feel betrayed by me? Did it make you distrust women?
That's right. I could never forgive what you did and didn't want to go through it again, so I didn't date anyone else.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. My foolish choices have ruined my life.
I stood up, sat next to Holly on the sofa, and silently held her close. She cried, and I gently stroked her trembling back. Finally, Holly was back with me. When Holly told me about her marriage with Matt, it was a dreadful story. Frankly, Matt saw Holly as nothing more than a free housekeeper. Many employees lived in the apartments next to their house, and Holly had to start preparing breakfast for them early every morning. Even after cleaning, if the mansion wasn't spotless, her mill would make her redo it. Matt controlled the finances, giving her a meager amount for living expenses. Despite the impossible task of making satisfying meals with that money, she was labeled a poor cook. She had to be the last to bathe and clean the bathtub and bathroom ceiling before finishing. Despite her efforts without buying new clothes, Matt and his parents saw Holly as an incompetent housewife. Matt achieved his goal by taking Holly away from me. To him, Holly was just a possession. Matt wanted Holly because she was mine. Now that the misunderstanding was cleared up, there was only one thing to do. Holly, divorce Matt and marry me. I'll make you happy. I expected Holly to agree immediately. That's why her answer shocked me.
I can't just switch to you because Matt's company is in trouble. But I can't stay with Matt any longer. I'll divorce him and manage on my own.
How will you manage alone? You've never worked before, right?
Yes, I've been a bird in a cage for a long time. As Mrs. Johnson of Johnson Construction, working was out of the question. It will be tough at first, but I'll strive to become independent.
With a completely different, lively expression, Holly left. From there, events unfolded rapidly, even surprising me. Holly presented Matt with divorce papers, packed her things, and moved out, renting a small apartment. She started working at a nearby supermarket. News of Holly leaving home and working at the supermarket spread quickly. People gossiped about whether Johnson Construction was in such dire straits that the president's wife had to work part-time. Other contractors feared getting involved with Johnson Construction and facing the same fate. Matt became increasingly isolated and struggled even more. Eventually, Holly and Matt's divorce was finalized, but she didn't immediately come back to me.
I don't feel worthy of you right now, Eric.
so she worked harder than anyone else. I started shopping at the supermarket where Holly worked every day. When she was in charge of the produce section, I bought vegetables. When she moved to the deli, I bought enough deli food for all my employees. The store manager teased me, saying, "People in love are different." Holly, bustling around the store, looked very cheerful. After Holly finished her shift, we started going on dates at a nearby family restaurant. We tried to make up for the lost time by talking about our lives and what had happened during our time apart. It felt like we were back in high school. Actually, it was more like we were reclaiming our lost high school days. From our booth at the family restaurant, I could see couples who looked like high school or college students. They all seemed so vibrant and fresh. Unlike us, an older couple who probably didn't exude the same youthful vibe. I wonder how the other customers see us, I mused.
They probably don't think we're a married couple, and we don't look like friends, so maybe they think we're having an affair.
That's annoying. We're both single, so there's no need to worry about what others think. Holly chuckled softly and sipped her iced lemon tea through a straw. She always ordered iced lemon tea, just like she used to. Some things, like her preference for iced lemon tea, never changed. Gradually, we started to clear up the misunderstandings between us. Having been apart for so long, Holly's heart had frozen over. Now, my job was to slowly melt her cold heart. We've known each other for 40 years. We've taken a long and winding road to get here. I decided to take it slow. In the local construction industry, the screwless building incident had become a bit of a joke.
Imagine hiring that company and getting a building with no screws.
The incident was so damaging because Matt's reputation was already bad. He tried borrowing money to cover the losses from the screwless building, but no one would lend to him. Eventually, Johnson Construction lost all credibility and went bankrupt. Matt, now burdened with debt, couldn't find a new job. Having worked in construction all his life, and now older, it was hard for him to find a different profession. Having always been a praised president, working under someone else was a blow to his inflated pride. His arrogant behavior toward other subcontractors was well known, so no construction company wanted to hire him. I'd heard from Holly that Matt had a drinking problem, and now, in his loneliness, he was drowning in alcohol.
So, he's drinking again. He promised to quit, but I guess he couldn't stick to it. He's hopeless.
Matt had tried to quit drinking and rebuild his life. But as things got tougher, he turned back to alcohol. No employee was willing to stick with him through the hard times. Even Holly had left. Unable to find work because of his drinking, Matt was struggling. I've also heard he turned to gambling and started accruing more debt. With no job, Matt couldn't pay off his debts, and now he was missing, likely hiding from loan sharks. A year had passed since Holly left Matt. Our dates at the family restaurant continued. I eagerly looked forward to every evening. Holly had regained her brightness and laughed heartily at my jokes. Her smile was adorable, deepening my affection for her. Holly's birthday was approaching. I told her I had a present for her and made a reservation at a special restaurant.
It's too much for someone like me.
Holly said that, but I could tell she was excited. Finally, the day of her birthday arrived. Dressed in a new suit with a ring in my pocket, I sat at our table, Honestly, I was so nervous I thought my heart might leap out of my chest. The restaurant door opened, and I saw Holly walking in. She waved and approached me. Now, my big moment was about to begin.